That one was still active. Before I do anything with this, I need to enable mouse controls. This next game was the first in the series of driving games by Atari. It is called Sprint. More specifically, it's referred to as Sprint 4, and I think it's the first in the series. Here we go. Got run off the road, bastard. Now, I don't think there's any, I don't think there's any kind of finish line in this game. I think the real object is just stay on the road and keep going for as long as time allows. And I think that was it. It only allows for a certain amount of time, and then, yeah, that was it. It's a very short game, but you shouldn't have to expect much in 1977. So that was Sprint 4, but we're not done yet. There's 3 different variations, and we just went through one. The second one is called Sprint 8. I don't know if this is a variation of the... I don't know what kind of variation this is on the game. It might be an 8-player game, for all I know. Yeah, it looks like an 8-player model. I think the main upside is that there's no gears to worry about this time. You have to understand, I'm doing this with a mouse, and it's kind of difficult to determine whether or not I'm steering too hard. Well, that happened. Crashed right through the wall. So, I only had one, I only had one lap around, I think, and...
I'm guessing you're the red one.
Definitely the red one. I only made 13 points. You know what? I'm going to give this one more shot. Give myself a little bit more of a simpler track layout. Though that's not saying much because my car still turns like ass. You know, at this point, I may as well just plug in an Atari paddle and be done with it. So, much simpler track, did not fare much better. I got a 34. And that was Sprint 8. But like I said, we're not done. We have one more variation of this. This is simply called Sprint 1. Atari had, I guess, a working relationship with some company called Key Games. And from the looks of it, this might actually be it might be the first one. I mean, this may be the first sprint that we're looking at. Your car is white. Push the start button. Okay, where's the... Oh, there's the start button. I'm stupid. Same controls, but they have it set to where you can get extended play if you get 150 points. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening because, as you've seen the previous two playthroughs, I kind of suck at this. Oh God. Okay, they weren't kidding. The track changes automatically.
Wow, that would suck if you were in that area that changed.
Yeah. I notice I'm bearing a little bit to the left. Rating Granny. It's probably why I don't drive either. So yeah, that was the sprint games. But once again, we're not done. Because eventually there would be a sequel on the Atari Games branch, and we're going to go ahead and jump right over to it. Good enough that it has its own title. Ain't that nice? Okay, I need to try booting it again. This time with the joystick on, because I think that was the problem. I think. Yeah, I've been having issues lately with analog pedals and just trying to get them to work. Alright. Let's get this show on the road. Ooh, it's got a nice little bong sound. You can just see they're so excited for me. Yeah, I'll give it one more shot. Honestly, I'm not sure even with a steering wheel I'd be good at this.
Hello.
Hello, Ski.
I have scotch.
Die.
Macallan 10 years, single malt.
Ooh, that's the good stuff.
I
Yep,
might
I got a
need
bottle of
scotch.
that. Game that bad?
Oh, he went very far in Missile Command.
Have you nuked those damn commie bastards yet?
He got to the point of defending the Earth from aliens.
Are they commie aliens?
They're red, so yes.
Damn dirty guys. Looks like you're having a little bit of trouble with this race.
Yeah, because I can't steer.
Have you been drinking scotch?
You know, one would think I would be drinking scotch, but it's not the case. I just outright suck. I think this is why I don't drive.
Yeah.
And that was Super Sprint. I kind of suck at it, but once again, we're not done. There's another sequel.
Reese, I just had a nice cigar, and I've got some scotch. I think we can let this one slide. What do you think, Kiri?
Sounds about right.
Once more into the breach, ye old merry men of virtue. But it's a racing game. Ye old merry man!
Are there shortcuts in this game?
There are.
Looks like you're doing okay so far. Oh, you spoke too soon. Reese, you need to be doing less left and more right. Oof. That's gotta hurt.
Oh, yeah.
He's on lap 3 and in amazingly first place. Up, and he goes straight to last.
It didn't take long.
He got third place this time, so he's improving.
Yeah, but because the system is so fucked, even if you make second place, you still have to add quarters.
First place is the only free one, right?
Yep. If you want
I
to
think
save
the
money,
game is a
you
bit
need to
sensitive.
get good. If you want to
Get
save your
scrub.
money, you gotta get good.
Get good, scrub. You're being a derp here, Reese. I think the game's a little sensitive. Oof.
Yeah, apparently I said something mean about its mama.
I think you should turn the sensitivity down.
Maybe.
Like, a lot down. Reese, this isn't Tokyo Drift. Gary, back me up here.
They aren't in Japan. Not Tokyo. They're somewhere in the U.S.
Potentially, he could be in Europe. These look like Formula 1 cars. Okay, so we cut the sensitivity in half. It appears to be helping a little bit.
You know how bad this is? I couldn't even do this in the arcade with a steering wheel. that was how the game operated in real life. It operated with a steering wheel. It was actually 3 steering wheels, with the 4th player being computer controlled, because they wanted to encourage play style based on competition.
And the computer player always seemed to win.
The computer player was just the way to pace the game.
Yeah.
Because initially they had a 4th player, but they decided to just leave the 4th player blank just so it could be the game's clock. Because if you had 4 players, you could play the game infinitum, and that's bad game design.
Oh, I see. So basically, they could just hog the arcade by not moving.
Pretty much.
Nice. I mean, another way is you literally have a maximum time you can play the game. But, you know, that's another way to do it.
That is another way to do it.
Oh, Kiri, I've added a life support mod to my Kerbal Space program.
Nice.
I must send up supplies with my Kerbals now. Basically, lots of boxes of snacks.
Now, I have learned a bunch of these facts about the Sprint games, mainly from this guy. Well, that and these folks.
The reason why we made it a 3-player game was simply we had 4 characters in the game, 4 cars,
Oh, cool.
4 drones.
I watched the game without checking to see if there were any
If
mod
one player
updates.
played the game by himself, obviously that was a shoot-in. You could have 3 computer-controlled cars, and that's how you could control the pace of the race through those drones, as we call them. 2 players was fine, even 3 players was fine. You always had that 4th player or 4th character to control the pace of the game. But we had a dilemma, and we were in a game design meeting with the management. If 4 players were playing the game, how in the world were we going to pace the game? We had no computer drone at that point because
We had no, you didn't have a clock running
we had no
down.
clock, and so then we had, yeah, sorry.
And the other thing was trying to come up with a cabinet where you had the ability to, the key with sprints were the fact that you'd learn the angle of the approach and your speed of your car, and you'd throw the wheel so that you'd slide around. And that was what sprint was all about. So trying to get 4 players with enough room with the steering wheel so they could all view one monitor was...
Then they'd all be like spinning wheels,
Right.
smacking each other.
which was really tough. So it was like, okay, 3 players is really good still. It's way more than 1.
The real reason, when it finally was decided to be a 3-player game was simply because we had no way of knowing from a game design standpoint how to pace a 4-player game because there wasn't a clock. And so magically we just said, oh, don't make it a 4-player game, make it a 3-player game. We have the 4th drone.
So what
Here's our clock.
Why didn't you put a clock in?
Well, we talked about it, and we didn't want to. That would change the whole game design. We wanted the coin drop to be governed by pure competitiveness, racing against other players. If you win the race, you continue on without paying. If you lose the race, you pay. And so that was, it just followed on the coattails of the success of Gauntlet, being multiplayer. A lot of discussion given to coin drop and how we can maximize that. I can think back to my Super Sprint development system, and it was, multi-layers of boards, wires running everywhere. It only worked if I had a coffee cup, a styrofoam coffee cup that I'd wedged in between the first 2 boards, because if they were any closer, too much heat was being generated.
Dave Levinson Memorial Coffee Cup.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly, it was a technician on the project, Dave Weavenson. He made it all happen. There were other technicians as well, but the development systems back then weren't as elegant as they are now. They were homemade. In Super Sprint, we tried to add a little bit of perspective to the tracks over and above what had been done previously on the top-down views, and that is some of the turns on the tracks were banked. We tried to represent that graphically, and we also represented that algorithmically in the driving algorithms, where if you went over a banked curved portion of the track, you had more traction as was more neat on the straightaway. So we tried to give it a little bit of a 3D feel, but it was purely 2D. And it was, I guess, a couple of years there, it was the last of the 2D type. There was nothing realistic about the driving algorithm in Super Sprint, but that's what made it fun and challenging is the older game, Sprint from the late 70s, used elements of the free spinning wheel as opposed to one that locks. And we wanted to even enhance that further, so we changed the driving algorithm. It's drastically different than the original to emphasize the fact that you can spin the wheel. And that became the art of the game, learning how, as I think Mike mentioned it earlier, learning how to spin that wheel right when you're coming into a turn and then catch the wheel as you're coming out of the turn as a way to play the game.
That's a lot of the fun of it.
That was the fun of the game.
That was the most interactive aspect of that game. Just sitting there and just really spinning
Learn how to
around
spin that wheel and
slamming
spin
down
around
the gas
corners.
pedal.
Grab those wrenches.
And let me make one other comment about Gauntlet, and that was we saw the benefit of maximizing coin drop by building up your character. And so well into the project, we had decided to assign different attributes to the cars, being more traction, more acceleration, higher top speed. We took all of those attributes and made them a feature in the game. And that wasn't an original part of the design to do that. We didn't have in our original document to build up your car over time. And so we introduced that into the game during the development. And that was a big part of the gameplay, the fact that in the arcades, kids could begin to play the game and begin to lose and start adding money. But over time, after they put in $2 or $3, they start to enhance the features of the car, which made them want to stay on the game even further because they didn't want to walk away from their car. Because there were 5 levels of each of these car features, 5 levels of acceleration, 5 levels of traction, 5 levels of higher top speed. And so people wanted to stay on the game so they wouldn't lose their car. The main differences between Championship Sprint, which was a sequel to Super Sprint, were simple. We added 4 new tracks. We chose the 4 most popular tracks from Super Sprint, carried those over, didn't throw those away, and added 4 new tracks to Championship Sprint. And then we changed, a minor change to the way you can build up your car. When a car crashes into a fence in Super Sprint, a helicopter comes out and drops you off a new one. Well, that just seemed to be too slow, that whole process of the helicopter flying across the screen, dropping, you're ready to get back in the race. And so it's one of the features of Championship Sprint, which you can add to your car's performance, is how fast the chopper comes out and drops off the new car. And you can build that up to a level where so you can get a new car replaced very quickly in Championship Sprint. But that's it, 4 new tracks, and a faster chopper.
Was it a 2-player version also?
It was
or-
2. Obviously, the most major difference was 2-player. Championship Sprint was designed as a kit. It would fit some of those upright cabinets that were out there, the standard upright cabinet. It's a 2-player game.
And how long did that take to develop that?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I think 3 months maybe. It was very short time, 3 or 4 months.
More of an update.
Yeah, it's more of an update.
I like the animations of the first, second, third place.
Yeah.
That is a great reward system. Yeah. There's one where I think if it's 3rd place, the guy would he'd be mad, he'd be like leaning into his car to the engine, and we had like a hacksaw.
He's like,
And then every once in a while, the steam would come back in the guy's face. But we always tried to add a little bit of comic relief into the screens where we're trying to represent how well you did.
or how
poorly you did, but the poor guy who didn't do so well, at least you got a good little chuckle out of the different animations that were there.
Yeah, and that's an important game design point, actually, is in games, you don't want to really humiliate people when they lose. You just, if you poke fun at them and can make them laugh when they lose, that's good, because then they don't feel so bad. Again, you lose, you're in 4th place, you just ran a horrible race in Championship Sprint, you look at the screen at the end that shows you the rankings, and there's a guy with a hacksaw hacking on your car. Yeah, it's kind of fun. You get a little chuckle out of it, and you go on. I actually have a championship sprint at my office. One of the steering wheels is broken on it, so maybe while I'm here I can pick up a couple of spare parts. But I will say one other thing about the steering wheels. We talked about the steering algorithm being changed so players can really spin that wheel to get that nice effect. Well, that actually was a problem as the game was being produced over time. People were spinning those wheels so much during gameplay it was causing an excessive heat buildup. And we had a lot of steering wheel shafts heat up and crack. It was kind of a customer service nightmare, shipping out new steering wheels to all these guys for overplay, which that's a good problem.
Yeah, on one hand, it's a good problem, but at the same time, how many of those shafts did you have to replace?
Apparently a lot.
Apparently a lot.
And you get a car, and you get a car?
Now, I'm gonna ask a question regarding today's market and the market from back in the 90s, or I'm sorry, 80s. If you had a problem like that with like well, let's go ahead and go with the upcoming Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch with I don't know, with buttons that wore out after so much use.
Buttons.
Would that be considered a design flaw, or would it be considered just would it be considered today as just bad design?
It's got buttons. I like buttons.
I'm just trying to find a good comparison to Super Sprint there, because, well, you saw the video, right?
For the Nintendo Switch?
No. For the Super Sprint, I just played it on the stream.
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay.
I was.
There was
distracted.
a problem during production, and during like the first run of the arcade cabinets, there were so many orders for spare parts regarding drive shafts, because they were spinning the wheel so hard that there was excessive heat buildup, and well, the drive shafts would crack.
Ooh, that's not good.
And they considered it a good problem because that meant a shit ton of people were playing the game. But at the same time, isn't that considered bad design? Or would that be considered bad design in this day and age?
Argument could be made.
Could be made. Keep in mind, this was post-crash. I think Nintendo was just about to settle on American shores. This was 1985. Yeah. Either way, it is I consider it food for thought. I don't know about you guys. Anyone that's watching, leave a comment in the comment section and let me know. Do you agree? Is it a good problem? But anyway, that was the Sprint series. Oddly enough, not related to the phone.